So basically, to remind you after the little bit of a pit stop we took around everywhere else. Okay, we took the first 7 words according to Bereshit, first line. Okay? So Bereshit bara Elohim, Aleftav, which is not translated, Hashemayim ve'et ha'eret. Okay? We started at Pesach, and as we went with our menorah, we saw our branches linking out. And these 3 led up to Shavuot, right? And we have a gap, and when we've got the 7th month festivals. Right. So we've got first month grouping. Yeah. 14th day of the first month. From the 15th on, the first day after the Shabbat, the first day of the week. This is separated by an Omer, or 7 times 7
plus 1.
This will give us our 50th day. That's 1. And this section will give us our 7th month.
No more. Ratio plus 1.
I don't have to do the maths for you, man. This is how good. Come on.
This is plus 1.
Yes, plus 1.
Plus 1, Shabbat Shalom plus 1.
That's not Alright, so we've got our first month and our 7th month, and then we've got this middle of the section which talks more about redemption and everything else. Okay, that being the Shamash, the 7th canon. So we've built up all the way to the time of, and let me just bring you back to the basic links. In the beginning, everything started with Pesach. He created a nation. He is the first fruits, brought out for a covenant. At the time the heavens will shout, Yom Teruah, this is 4. Yom Kippur, okay, is again going to be the point of bringing everybody into judgment at the end, white throne judgment probably. And we've got Sukkot, which then comes afterwards, which is the time where He will dwell with us forever. Okay, foreshadows of those things that are going to take place. So you should have New Testament, Old Testament links bouncing in the back of your brain, going, okay, I'm starting to see different pictures, or you're starting to see an entire redemptive plan put out in place in the shape of one 7-branch menorah. With 7 words from the beginning, yes?
Yes.
Okay, now everybody more or less sort of on board, okay? So, we want to focus on this feast today. It's probably going to go over because of the many different aspects of which we can really dissect this, because ultimately Sukkot really dwells upon one main feature. What is Sukkot about? Well, what is Sukkot?
It's a tabernacle.
Tabernacle. Yeah, it's a sukkah. It's a tabernacle. So, what is the point of this sukkah? To Emmanuel, to dwell with us, right? He wants to dwell with us, and we're going to dwell with Him. And we've got different aspects of that indwelling intent, of how these things are going to play out. But we've got a physical manifestation of this, and we have already the Old Testament framework, which is going to be what we start with and how we're going to move forward. Right. So you're going to go back to our baseline again, Leviticus 23, and you're going to glean for me the information that it talks about in Leviticus 23. What is important about this feast? I don't know what you're talking about. Leviticus 23.
Important from the Torah, or important?
That Torah portion, Leviticus 23 first. Set your framework. What Bible?
Live in a sukkah for 7 days.
Okay. So let's start with baseline here. Shabbatot. How many Sabbaths do we have over this time? Okay, so we have the Shabbat. Okay, what? Shabbatot, plural Sabbaths, which are on them. First and the last day, very, very clever. First and the last day of the 7th month, first and the last day of your life, first and the last day of what? First and the 8th day. First and the last day.
Shabbat plus 7.
Step into my office. Right, so that will give us a celebration over an 8-day period, but these are the Sabbaths. What are we told to do from the 1st to the 7th day?
It's a holy
Seven.
You get the weight from rain.
Wait for a minute. Okay, so it's a 7th day feast assembly, and we have a holy convocation. And a holy convocation. Right? What is the convocation? Right. So, what does the number 7 represent? Completion of God's plan. What does 8 represent?
Circumcision.
Yeah, that's partly. 6 days, man.
New beginnings.
New beginnings. Right? Something new. Right. So the baby is circumcised on the 8th day. From a medical standpoint, that is the best time for a newborn baby to be circumcised because of its vitamin K. Its clotting agent is at its highest at that point. So therefore there won't be too many complications on the 8th day. It's a practical thing. But also if we look at it from a spiritual application, it is the 7 plus 1, which is going to take you into a new beginning, a new creation, something new. Now if we scan this again, it starts with a Pesach. I pull you out of bondage. I make you unleavened. You will be the first fruits of resurrection. Thursday in Christ will be first of. Shavuot, you will be in covenant. Yom Teruah, I will come and fetch you. Yom Kippur, judgment will happen regardless whether it is through Yeshua or not. So that I can dwell with you. But in that dwelling, I have to repair everything that the world has broken. In my 7th-day cycle, I created everything in 6 and I rested. Now everything is fallen and now I have to redeem creation. Redemptive process. How am I going to redeem it? Through the shamash. You with me? Oh, it's just nice, eh? Through the shamash, I'm going to redeem this thing and I'm going to do it through my plan. Okay. So, what else are we commanded to do over here? Live in a sukkah. Okay? A sukkah is what? Tabernacle, otherwise a temporary dwelling, a dwelling, a tent. Okay? The tradition has it that we've got to this place where it says your sukkah needs at least, tradition says sukkah needs to have at least 3 walls, and then a roof has to be made up of different branches and things, but you can't close it completely because you still need to see the stars.
Well, the 3 walls are traditional, but in verse 40 it does stipulate that you need to use different branches and trees to actually make your dwelling.
Does it say make your roof?
There's another in Deuteronomy 16, verse 13 to 17.
Read it.
Deuteronomy 16.
Well, I mean, they used to make those things off there, but when you start talking about the things, there's other things that they're alluding to with different palm fronds and things like that.
I don't know if it was in here. I did read it. I'll go and find it. Okay. So from Deuteronomy 16 verse 13, you shall observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days when you have gathered from the threshing floor and from your winepress, and you shall rejoice. But it's not from there.
So here we're sitting, we're talking about after the end of the harvest, we're talking about the grapes, and most of the harvest is already in. You will already have from your threshing floor, from all of the stuff that you have gathered in your barley, right here.
Wouldn't the barley be finished by then?
No, not if you had enough stores. Remember, he says your stores will overflow. You will use, according to the Shema, you will use what you have and then it will be left over. Right? Then you have your wheat, and then you have your grapes and everything in between. Right? So we're talking about that type of harvest. When we start looking at it, you're commanded to do something rather funny.
Offering that.
There's lots of offerings over the time of Sukkot. You guys know where you see it?
Where's the Bible?
Palm fronds, thick branches, that thing.
Yeah, well, there's lots of offerings, but that's a way of offering what you have there. Are we commanded to do what with it?
On the first day, you are to take choice fruit, palm fronds, thick branches, and river willows, and celebrate in the presence of Adonai, which will go for 7 days.
Right, so you get told that you need to take a wave offering, in a sense.
Yeah.
Okay?
I thought that was a week before Pesach.
You know, you get two different ones. Okay? It's actually on the feast of first fruits, not the week before. Right, in the wave offering we get told what type of plants do we have?
Palm fronds,
Palms,
yeah, and thick branches, and river willows.
willows, and thick branches of fruit. Branches.
I found it.
Okay, share.
Okay, so it's actually Nehemiah 8 from
Wow, your Torah is confused.
That was close.
verse 13 to 18. So from verse 13 it says Nehemiah 8,
Yeah.
13 to 16. Now on the second day the heads of the fathers' houses of all the people with the priests and the Levites were gathered to Ezra, the scribe, in order to understand the words of the law. And they found written in the law which the Lord had commanded by Moses that the children of Israel shall dwell in booths during the feast of the 7th month, and they should announce and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, Go out to the mountain and bring olive branches, branches of oil trees, myrtle branches, palm branches, and branches of leafy trees to make booths as it is written.
Keep going.
But you never find those in the desert.
Then the people went out and brought them and made themselves produce each one of them the roof of the on the roof of the house, or in the courtyards of the courts of the house of God, and in the open square of the water gate, and the open square of the gate of Ephraim.
Read that list again of the different types of plants that they would use in Nehemiah 8.
They said here, go out to the mountain, bring the olive branches, branches of oil trees, olive branches,
Yeah.
branches of oil trees,
Which is a olive branch.
Oh, wow.
myrtle branches,
Myrtle,
palm branches,
palm,
leafy trees.
leafy, generally good idea.
That's what it
Okay, so take any sort of branches that are going to bring in here. Okay,
Yes.
but this is also an interesting little link there.
Mine says olive branches and
Reference
palm
was
fronds.
actually
Nehemiah 8 from verse 13 to 18.
So you said
Wild olives.
Wild
olive
olives.
branches. So it's olive branches and wild olive branches.
so which is probably that one. It says
As you see.
wild.
Doesn't it, man?
Not Betsy.
Wow.
A wild olive. You're the oil branch.
I was like that.
Right. So,
Of absolutely no consequence, myrtle is Hadassah in Hebrew, which is
very good. Hadassah.
Oh my word, Esther, what is it?
Hadassah. So if we're looking at Hadassah, hidden little celebration idea in the mix of that. Good. Yeah, Shoni's going.
I'm so happy right now.
Alright, before we get to Hadassah, right, let's start looking at these things, okay? Is that more or less what you commanded without looking, you know what fastest thing is first, offerings. Over the time.
29. Numbers 29 from verse 12 to 38.
Man, there's girls on the wall today.
She got crooked.
So hang on a second, numbers.
Numbers 29 verse 12 to 38.
Verse 12 to 38. Alright, do me a favor, stop, Shoni.
Okay.
Alright, you're going to find your group and you're going to make a list of offerings for me. Yay! I'm no fat. Alright? Find your group, look at it. This gets mentioned now in, where would you accompany these scriptures? What era?
We talk about
Millennial reign.
times.
Yeah, end times, millennial reign. Okay? So, interesting little debacle just for you guys. A little add-on to what you already know. God pulled you out of bondage and He freed you from Egypt. It's right. He brought you to a mountain to give you Torah. Right? He gave you the gift of Torah. He came to the cross. Now, if we follow church logic, He freed you to put you into bondage, Torah, to free you from the bondage he put you in, and when he comes in millennial reign, to put you back under the bondage he freed you from. Problematic, yes?
Yes.
Right. Well, I'm God who does not change. I freed you, and God is the one who keeps on putting these stipulations in on them, right? Does it sound correct? No, there's a little bit of a problem here, because now we're giving offerings, now we're celebrating and we don't get any rain, and that's going to lead me to another time of here, at the time where we get to the point of Hoshana Rabbah.
So I just want to ask, that sacrifice, was it by tribe or by the whole of the community?
And that was by the whole of the community. Remember, every 10th animal would be dedicated, the first one of the womb, and every 10th animal will be given up to the Levites. This is why, guys. They've got offerings on Shabbat, they've got offerings on Rosh Chodesh, they've got offerings at different feast times. Who's going to pay for all that stuff? It's a communal celebration. These are one of, give me the names of the 3 pilgrimage feasts. So the men will go up at the time of Pesach, so families will normally go, Shavuot, and Sukkot. 3 times when you will bring first fruits, or the first of your harvests, are the 3 major ingatherings. Right? It's funny, just for those Revelations buffs, the Babylonian leaving of Babylon and going into Babylon were over 3 times again. Okay? And it's funny that we had that discussion over when rapture will be pre-trib, mid-trib, and post. Okay, so it's 3 different exoduses, 3 different intros. Alright? These things keep on coming up. Now, before we start to unpack the whole rain thing in Hoshana Rabbah, are you guys all more or less happy with this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, wouldn't that also be harvesting olives, because both Leviticus 23 and other chapters in it doesn't specifically say grapes, although we know that grapes are harvested.
It was at that time, but you're talking about olive branches, and not necessarily what the fruit is on, because then I'm chopping away and doing with the fruit that I'm supposed to be harvesting. Right, that would just be counterproductive, considering that I want that tree to bear fruit, right? So it's just that it's leafy at that time. Okay. So, does anybody want to take a photo of the madness so far?
Yes.
Take the photo of the madness. We need to make space. I want to just focus on, as we start with this thing, because, yeah, I'll show you now. Please, Paul, what's for the Yes, get that table. Okay.
Uncle Vince,
Yes.
come see.
Oh, no, my photo bomb. All right. I want to focus on this term Sukkah. Okay? Now, obviously, it's at the time of the 7th month, but Sukkah means to tabernacle, right? But our first indication of basically the heart of this thing is that a Sukkah is a temporary dwelling. What word is our wordplay attached to our menorah underneath? What is the word in Hebrew above there that attaches itself to Sukkot?
Earth.
Right. Earth. Right. Something that is, at this point, your temporary dwelling. Right. Not something that is permanent, not something that is well established just yet. Right? This was also an interesting thing when we look at, and this is what we're going to get to, Emmanuel. Can someone give me the scriptures for Emmanuel? Fastest fingers first. No one New Testament, our gospel writers say yes, and that's where he will dwell among us. He will be in Emmanuel. But the word dwell is actually Sukkah. So he's already making an allusion to the time of Sukkot. Right?
7.
Right.
Verse 14.
Isaiah 7 verse 14. And who was the first Emmanuel?
Ah.
My head shall hashbaz. How many of you, this is the first time you've heard of this?
Me.
Right, okay. You want to expand?
So, what do you want? Do you want just the meaning of the name? Maher Shalal.
Shal.
S-H-A-L.
A-L.
N-A-L. Hash. Hash. H-A-S-H.
Yeah.
Buzz. B-A-Z. The spoil hurries, the prey speeds along.
Okay.
It's Isaiah's son's name.
Right. So Isaiah goes up to the king and he says, there was an army. Can you identify the army while you're there? Is that Nicholas? There's an army that's going to come out against him. They send word to Isaiah, there's a prophet among us, let him give us a word. And he says, I'm going to give you a sign. And that sign is a maiden. And this is very important because the Jewish folks get hung up on this big time. This will disprove your virgin birth nonsense, because the word for virgin is what? No, it's right there in the Hebrew vocab. Are you a virgin? What's the bride price? Betula. Betula. Okay, so but the word is not betula in the script. The word is something else.
Young man.
If you look at that particular word, it can mean virgin and maiden.
Absolutely, but that's what they don't want to hop on. But you say specifically just a virgin. It's the term for young maiden. Okay? Now he says a young maiden, which could be a virgin, will give birth. And then Isaiah goes home. And then him and his wife have a baby. She is a young maiden. Right? And that young maiden will be called Meher-Shalal-Baz. Right? And that will be a sign for the king that the army will not be able to come in and conquer. Okay?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Alright. Isaiah, is the army going to destroy us? No. Let me give you a sign. A young maiden will give birth, and by the time he is weaned, everything will be sorted. Okay? That's the long and short of it of Isaiah 7. Go and read through the script. Okay? He goes in and he says, now this will happen. Now remember, Isaiah is talking about something, and because prophecy is cyclical, this is the same Emmanuel that gets alluded to with Yeshua. Okay? But this time, that young maiden was a virgin, and a virgin birth is the reason we can tie in Emmanuel and what happened during Isaiah 7. You with me, sir?
Sorry, I need to backtrack. Yeah. To Betula, you said the Jewish people get hung up on that because they say it's handmaiden and not virgin.
No, Betula means virgin.
Betula means virgin.
Betula means virgin. Alma, eh?
Alma.
Alma, yeah. Alma is the word for young maiden, and that's the word that's being used in Isaiah. Yes.
Alma.
Alma, not Betula.
Not
Right.
Betula.
Right.
So where's Betula being used in the New Testament?
No, it's not at all. They're saying if it's a virgin birth, surely the Bible should have said Betula. But it doesn't say Betula, it says Alma. A young maiden will give birth.
Is that
Right? So, but he's talking about two different women. He's talking about Isaiah's wife, and he's talking about Miriam.
Yeah.
Both are young maiden. One is a virgin, one is married to Isaiah. You with me? Okay?
So they're saying it wasn't immaculate conception because there was no Betula.
Yeah,
No
because
virgin.
no virgin birth. It can't possibly be because the Hebrew word the Hebrew word does not mean virgin. But the simple fact is that word for Alma could mean virgin. It's used in context of that as well. But they don't tell you that. That just means young maiden. And most young maidens are virgins. But not specifically virgins. Okay? So now they're trying to pull apart the word and then say, no, that really doesn't matter. Okay? So when you look at the first Emmanuel, the first picture of Emmanuel is Maher-Shalal-Baz. And what is his name in again?
The spoil hurries, the prey speeds along.
Okay? Which is going to tell you what? What was the point of that man, that child being called such a mouthful?
The king of Ashur is coming.
But we...
He's going to bring
The spoil hurries the praise.
the spoil, Harry's, the prey.
Praise.
Pray.
Praise, speed.
Pray.
Pray as in P or E-Y.
Yes. Yeah. So now stop and ask your question, what has got to do with Messiah? Well, we pause, right? We're going to look at Meher Shalashbaz, and he will be Emmanuel. You will call him Emmanuel, okay? Now we know that comes up, and we know that talks about Yeshua. Okay. And Emmanuel, like I said to you before, that he will dwell, he will sukkah with you. That's what the word Emmanuel means. Right? All with me.
Yeah.
Okay. So if this is an illusion to Sukkot, because he will dwell with us, we start to ask the question. We get told to make tabernacles, Sukkot, over this time. Now before we jump to Yeshua, which is of Meher Shalashbaz, don't we have another example of a sukkah? The Mishkan, okay? Right, it's called a tabernacle, alright? Now, there are a couple of different Hebrew terms for the word tabernacle, or sukkah, that we use that roughly gets translated in our Bible as tent of meeting, or holy house, or whatever, okay? They give you different functionalities of what is there. Okay, so a tent is called okay. Okay? Okay? But we also have it being referenced to Mikdash and also Mishkan. And if we want to look at the temple, which is a picture of above, Beit HaKodesh, or Beit HaMikdash. Mikdash. Okay. So, again, with everything that he's talking about, you see, we miss this in our Bible. We need to ask ourselves the question, okay, what are these terms? Because terms are not going to give us definitions, they're going to give us function. Now our function, Ohel Me'od, means it's a tent of meeting. So it's a place where he wants to meet with you. Mikdash, mainly translated sanctuary. Mishkan, dwelling. Place of dwelling, or a dwelling place. Okay, there's a few other terms, but these are the main ones. So he goes into it, he says, I'm going to give you a tent of meeting, I'm going to give you a sanctuary, and I'm going to give you a place of my dwelling. Right. But we know that the instruction that was given to make this Mishkan was at what time? At Mount Sinai. Okay, so at Mount Sinai something really nice happened. Moses started to glow. Awesome. Yes. Now that Moses was glowing in the dark, we thought it was a good idea to put him in a tent. Yes? Because all things glowing must go into a dark place.
It's not saying Hebrews that he, if it is in Hebrews that
When he talks about his face
glowing,
just like the old must fade away to
but that he also got the instructions for the heavenly.
Right. Moses got a copy, or he saw a replica, or he saw the original, and then God told him to make a replica. Where did he see the original?
In heaven.
Up in heaven. Right. So this is a picture that he's seen in heaven. So it's what's in heaven. Hashemayim. Links up. Look out so nicely on the one branch. What is the center of it all? The Aleph Tav. And it's going to come down to earth. So we have heaven, which is the original. We have the earth, which has the copy. But this copy is going to give us different ideas. Okay.
Uncle Vince.
Yes.
So now that we don't have the, well, no, they broke the yard now, the temple, but now that the physical representation of the temple is no longer there, and there isn't on earth, and there isn't a high priestess now.
Mazit. That's going to get us to our next question. Okay? Right. So we're going to look at this heaven original, the earth copy, and now this specific one. We need to get rid of your notes.
That's disturbing.
After all this hard work.
Yeah, it took him all of 5 minutes.
That means I have a fresh copy here.
I thought that was broken.
This is wonderful.
We know our Mishkan, if I had to draw my picture, I don't know where my picture is. Right, I have one entrance, very skew entrance by the looks of things. Okay, here's my door. Then I'm going to go in, and what's the first thing I'm going to see?
The altar,
Okay, brazen altar. Behind the brazen altar,
washing hands.
laver. Then I'm going to come up to a separate set. It's going to have another little entrance way here. Menorah, showbread,
Lots of incense.
incense,
Portable gold incense altar.
parochet, the Ark of the Covenant. Okay. So God gives us this dynamic. And He says, what you see in heaven is what you're going to go and you're going to make on earth. And He starts to empower a couple of guys, Betzalel and Oliav. Okay? Gives them the design. Moses is going to get involved. Aaron's going to get involved. The people are going to get involved. What's the most touching thing about this Mishkan is where did they get all the materials?
From the people.
Right, they don't take it from the Egyptians.
Well, they took it from the Egyptians, but they took it for themselves.
Yeah.
What happens at Mount Sinai that makes them want to give up their wealth?
Because
they messed up since.
They really wanted.
Covenant. Covenant is what's going to help us at Sinai. That's going to get us to give up our wealth. Golden calf, not so much want to give up anything. Right? So we're going to go there, we're going to enter into a covenant, and we're going to build a tabernacle that will house the covenant. Right, so what does that represent? What does that represent? Sorry. If you have Shavuot representing a ketubah, a wedding, that was our ketubah given. And when I take my ketubah and I stick it in a specific place, deep inside of a sanctuary, a place of dwelling. What am I trying to tell you about the tabernacle?
The tabernacle is us, and then
Nope, not yet.
not it.
Okay, you're going to celebrate for 7 days.
It's a marriage.
It's a wedding. It's a wedding tent. Right. It is a place where you are going to meet with me. But you need to understand that this relationship is going to be built on my foundation, my understanding, my way. Don't mimic of what you're going to see. Right? So when you go to the Canaanites and then we have this competition about who is your Baal, what does Baal mean in Hebrew? Who is my husband or my landlord? Okay? I am a tenant in his kingdom. So when I go into Canaan, the landlord is who? Whose land is it? God's land. So it's not this funny guy who was birthed by a guy called Dagon. It's got nothing to do with him actually. It has everything to do with Elohim. And when I start to look at this idea of husband, who again do I belong to and why am I here? What am I established? His house, his kingdom, his land. Right? And a symbol of this, Emmanuel, that I will be with you and go out before you, funny enough, is put into a temporary structure that can be broken down and put up. Surely, as God would want to show an everlasting statue that I'm there with you, surely you should have chosen Mount Everest or something. Why does he choose a temporary structure? Because
To
he
remind
goes
us
with us.
that that's not the real thing, it's the copy of what's in heaven.
Well, that's nice.
And that it's like another picture of Abraham, that it's temporary here on earth.
It's temporary, and so is his dwelling when he comes back down. You talked about millennial reign in Zechariah 14 and Ezekiel. He's going to come down and he's going to establish his reign on earth. Right?
Isn't that also talking?
Forever and ever. And ever, and ever. Right? So he's going to establish himself there, and it's no longer going to be a temporary tent. It's going to be something permanent, something that's not going to shift. And it goes as far as to say there will be no temple for the Lamb, and Elohim will be its temple. Yes? Yes? Yes Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes, that's what it says. Right, which is going to lead me to another picture before we get to unpack this little piece.
Sorry, Vincent, if the heavenly sanctuary is represented at Sukkot, is that what you're saying, and the earthly sanctuary is represented?
No, I'm saying that the picture he gave was a copy of the heavenlies.
Oh, okay.
No,
Otherwise
no.
it didn't make sense. It has to represent the earthly sanctuary for it to make
What I'm
sense.
saying is that the idea is that this is already linked from the heaven. The copy or the original is in the heaven, but it's a copy on earth.
Okay.
Right? And the whole thing that's holding it together is a nail. Aleph. What is the Aleph for? The head or the first? No?
Yeah.
The first or the strongest?
So it's probably the ox.
Strokes?
Of the house.
10, no?
The
The Tav?
Cross.
The cross, or the mark. Okay, so it gives a picture of the crucifixion of what he's trying to establish. Okay? Alright, so we've got this Mishkan. Mishkan or this tabernacle number 1.
Sorry, one more quick thought.
Sure.
If the heavenly sanctuary doesn't have an ark, but it's got the throne with the Father and the Son, then is not the covenant in the form of, not on the tablets, but in the form of a scroll?
No, it
If
doesn't.
there's no ark in the heavenly sanctuary, where the Holy of Holies is the
Look at where
is the
he puts
throne
it.
room.
Look at where he puts it. Right? It's underneath the mercy seat, so it would be underneath his throne.
Underneath
The
his
point
throne.
of it is
Oh,
it's sitting
okay,
at his
okay.
feet.
Okay. So
Right.
I'm just
Yeah, joining
okay,
the
that makes
pictures, right?
perfect sense.
So you've got the cherubim on either side, you've got him sitting over there, and inside his chair is manna, Aaron's rod.
Okay, perfect sense.
Okay.
Bring it on.
Just an interesting note on that. It can be broken up into 2 units with the bar.
Yeah, I've heard about that, but then I've got a very skew nail and an upside down U.
Well, it's got two hands. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
It's an interesting illusion.
What's the second meaning?
When you look at the way an Aleph is printed, it looks like a Yud here and a Yud here and a skew Vav. But it doesn't have the little edging that comes out like a normal Vav does. So what they say is there's 2 hands in the nail.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Alright, so we've got that Mishkan. We also have another picture of a tabernacle. Your question, my dear, when I told you to shh. Us, we are the tabernacle. So, do you not know that you are the Mishkan? So, the people.
And we're adding the sanctuary.
Third example.
The kids wow.
Nope,
One in heaven.
nope,
Millennial reign.
nope.
Temple.
Destroy this temple then. I will raise it up in. It's 3 days. You sure? Right. Okay. So now we've got interesting illusions to unpack. But before we do, let's say if we can correlate these two with those 3 images, and then maybe unpack the colors a little bit, and then we can go into some other extras. Okay. So, how much time do we have? The time is finished. Oh, we've got 15 minutes. All right. So, explain Yeshua to me in this picture. With the order of things first before we go into the materials of things.
He's the door.
I'm the door. Right? No one comes to the Father but through me.
Yes.
Right. Praise an altar, which
Which is our sacrifice.
right, he's our offering. Sin, peace, etc., etc. Once I come in through the door, I get led to become a living sacrifice. From there, I go to the laver. What does the laver do for me? Right, it's a cleansing thing. Then I go to another place. So, out of here we have the outer court. Then we go into the holy place. And then we have the Holy of Holies. Okay. So we come into the door and we see the menorah. What's nice about the menorah?
He said light.
So light unto our feet, which is the word, but also, what are we doing with this thing? What does it have an image of? 7 spirits of God. Okay? It's interesting that Yeshua is referred to as the spirit of prophecy. Okay? One of these spirits, or the spirit of Elohim, and we know that we understand it's a Shamash and everything is pointed to him, but we only start to gather God's wisdom, God's understanding, and we get to understand him in his fullness. Because the fact that we are able to go through, because of the sacrifice, we are cleansed to move into his presence. So God starts to reveal himself to us. Showbread.
He is the bread of life.
Bread of life, or the manna. Okay? Unleavened bread. Good faith. Okay? Incense?
Lord, pray through me.
Right. Pray in the merit of
Merit of
Leshem Yeshua Mashiach. Okay? Pray through, and praying through the word, and that will lead you past the second curtain, coming into the very
But then,
the parachet talk because of the molding.
but even in the, it's the covenant, the manna, and Aaron's staff, and he used all 3 of those sitting at.
Now let's start first with the top half. You will come into the throne. Yeah, you come to the throne. It's not a trick question. You walk up to Abba. Right? Then you have Yeshua, and if you see the illusion that the Father and the Son is sitting at the right hand of the thing, He's leading you unto Himself, which is the word again, which is coming back to that point. Okay? Now, if we're going to go through this process, if we look at, yeah, there's actually a 4th illustration here. Singular. Okay. So, if we start to unpack this thing, and this entire thing is about what type of material am I finding on my outer board? Name.
Linen.
Bronze.
Yeah?
Linen.
Braze and stuff. Okay, so brass or brazen needs to deal with
Judgment.
judgment, right? When I come in here, what do I find? No.
Maybe
Do we find the silver menorah?
Gold.
We find gold in this area completely. Gold and gold. Funny enough, gold with acacia. And we have sections of acacia and some gold. Acacia and some gold and something that's pure gold. Right. Okay? So we have this box also with acacia. This, funny enough, just labor with bronze, but somehow, I'll put it in brackets here, that they believe the mirrors tradition has. That the mirrors were used to be able to see the reflection of all the ladies offered up their mirrors, it's tradition, that you would be able to see yourself when you were washing. Okay, so.
Now the 2 pillars, were they also bronze?
That's temple.
Sorry?
That's temple. You have different pillars over here, but it's mainly functional things. Let's stick to what we have first that is depicted. Okay. So we have judgment on the outside. Your judgment is dealt away with. I bring you into gold, which is about righteousness, right? Where's silver in the midst of this?
Like that.
Are they all silver?
No.
No. So what are the sockets? Where's what on the sockets?
It's 50.
No, not the rings, the sockets. So you have these lovely bowls that fit into a socket at the bottom, socket at the top. Fastest fingers first. What's what? It is a mix between 2. Silver and bronze. Tell me which one is where.
The silver's at the top.
Are you sure?
Looking.
Yeah, you're Googleizing.
Sockets, temple, Bible.
Sockets, temple, Bible verse. Alright, while we're busy with that. Silver is a picture of? Okay, so we've got gold, righteousness, silver, mention, brazen, which is judgment. Then we've got some other interesting things with the fabric.
It's linen.
We have linen, which is generally what color?
White.
White. Okay, what else do we have?
We have
goatee.
Okay, we'll get to the goat there. We have red, blue,
Purple.
purple.
Sounds like Jesus.
Right, so you'll find that this is not only the colors that are hemmed into the doors, but also in this parochet here as well. And also you will find that many of these colors are interwoven with the high priestly garments. So his clothes matches. Right. And if we look at it, there's specific orders of things. What does white represent? Purity. So something that's pure. Flesh is red. Okay, so if we look at the word Adam, if we look at this altar, brazen altar, there's a nice little link. Okay, here's our brazen altar. You've got your horns on the side. Oh, wrong way. Horns on the side pointing the way. Okay, the horns represent God's strength. In His compassion, He will turn judgment away from you through His strength. That's the picture. But the blood goes down. What's the Hebrew word for blood? Down.
Oh, I love it.
Something that is ole starts with an aleph. An ole offering, the offering goes up, the blood goes down. That which is of God ascends, that which is God's flesh stays down. The first. Okay? Again, Adam. Did you find it?
Bronze sockets with silver hooks.
Bronze and silver. Right?
This is the outside wall.
Okay, one verse you have to.
That's Exodus 27, verse 11.
So we've got sockets to silver.
Silver hooks and rings.
Yeah, and its attachments.
And was they 50 sockets?
50 hooks to hold on the cords running or holding on the curtains. That number 50 here, what does 50 represent?
Jubilee.
Redemption.
Yeah, I mean redemption.
So the point of this thing, the whole purpose of this thing is holding together is holding together redemption. The point of it is to redeem you. I'm going to redeem you through the blood of Messiah. I'm going to bring you into the very courts, and that's what's holding in the essence here. So we've got the flesh, okay, blue, heaven, purple, king. Okay? It's a heavenly kingdom and an earthly kingdom. How do I get purple? Okay, so something that was pure, something that was of earth or of the flesh, something that came down from heaven will give us our king. Right. You will notice as well, one of the little details that we have here is that we have cherubim that are embroidered on the door itself. Why?
Isn't it got to do with something with the
Garden of
Garden
Eden.
of Eden? Or was
Very
it
nice. Okay, everything to do with Garden of Eden. Why?
to bring us back to restore us back to that?
No, the cherubim is there to stop us from getting back.
So we
Why?
don't eat from the tree of life.
Why?
Because then we'll sin for eternity.
So you will not be able to be redeemed for your sinful nature when this entire thing is about your redemption. Right. So when we look at it, as we go deeper in, and in many cases it's, do a little bit of a study of the way this thing is put into place with the tents around it, and then you'll see that the cherubim and the different symbols of it. Remember we did that study with the banners?
Revelations again.
It's all over the place. And we have the different cherubim, or the different angels with the different faces that are sitting over there. We also have cherubim sitting on either side, just as it goes into the throne room of God. These are all pictures of what is there. Right? But He has to bring us in. But what do we do at the door here? What are we told to do?
Confess our sins.
Confess. Take ownership of where you are so that you can move forward. What will lead me to the Mishkan of God?
The love of God calls us to.
Well, that should be the case. It should be our love, but it's His reputation first. Remember, for the Jews that saw it, they have an eyewitness testimony and a covenant that's going to be put into place here, and that's what we're going to live up, because that's going to be our inheritance. And our inheritance sheet is covering who we are to Him. And Exodus 19 says we'll be a peculiar treasure, right? And a peculiar treasure must have a place, must have a God, and this God says, don't worry, I'll go with you. And I'm going to walk in through this, and I'm going to get you to the place that I promised Abraham. So again, your covenant is again laid on to Abraham's covenant, and then we're going to get you to that place so you can take your inheritance. But when you're there, remember, my tent is established at Shiloh, and then later after that, the temple gets built up into Jerusalem, and it's the picture there forevermore that you're only here because of me. Right. Is this just lots of information? You guys are right.
It's very, very nice.
Can I finish asking my question?
Yes.
I just wanted to ask now, the only temple that's eternal is the one in heaven, because we aren't
Well,
alive.
what happens when you're going to get your new body?
That's what I was also thinking. That's what I'm like,
What's the name?
so now is the one in heaven where God is sitting, the temple that we're trying to lead us to?
What we're going to unpack is you are made up of 3 parts. Alright? Yeshua said he was the temple. We are the body, all the other pieces, and Yeshua is the part of the head, but give me temple analogy.
Right, because now we
He's the cornerstone.
Right. He's the cornerstone. He's the stone that starts everything. Without the cornerstone being the strongest part and the thing that you start to build up and everything takes shape around him. Right? And we fill in the gaps. What is the point of that? If he's the cornerstone and we're filling in, that's nice. You all make a beautiful Mishkan. Pat yourselves on the back. Very, very nice picture. But what is the point of the Mishkan?
So God can roll with it.
What part? What was the imagery? What did we see in the wilderness? The light. And that was a representation of who? The Shekinah. The Shekinah, His very presence, and that is also in many cases encumbered in this light. His Shekinah, funny enough, the word Shekinah is feminine. So you have Elohim, masculine plural, Yeshua, masculine, Shekinah, also the Ruach HaKodesh is also feminine. So the only real illustration we have is that Shekinah, if we follow the wordplay, is probably a representation of the Ruach HaKodesh. Okay. So we again are
Sorry, what
in
was that last word?
Shekinah
Is a representation
of
of
the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. And that is going to give me again the illustration of He will want to dwell in and among us. Right? But also Acts 2. The indwelling inside of your 3 parts. Can anybody tell me what Thessalonians tells me you're made up of? Body, soul, and spirit. Right? And your body, soul, and spirit. Help me with the illustration.
Body outside.
Body outside.
Soul.
So outside.
Soul.
Yeah, but the body has to be with us.
Holy place.
Die to flesh.
Die to flesh.
Your holy place is soul. Spirit. Right. Okay. So what I want to do is, while we're here, mark down. We're going to tackle the temptation or the testing of Messiah while we're here. So next week, when he goes into the wilderness, he does 3 temptations. We're going to do this to where it fits into the Mishkan and your body. I want you also to look at the Paleo Hebrew for the 3 terms or the three functions of the Mishkan. So try and break that up for me. And then we are going to look, again, as was mentioned, we're probably going to tie in some of the functionality with where we are and what is to be expected and to what's going to happen at end time.
Can you repeat the last word?
We're going to tie in stuff, don't stay. Paleo
Yeah.
and testing.
And then, okay, if you eventually get to, never mind.
What? You want to talk about?
Wrong festival.
We can talk about it after if you want. Yeah.
Kleine plastics.
Huh?
Ja,
I said we're going to tie in what's going to be established later. Okay? So we've already started with Ezekiel, we've already started with Zechariah. Okay? What is the fullness of what this body is supposed to represent? What is the fullness of what he's going into here? Alright? But as you guys will see, if we're going to follow our branches, just quickly, the point, you were set free so that you can be free and you can dwell with me. You will be unleavened because you will free from sin. The first fruits of your resurrection will be the dead in Christ will be raised first. All hinges on where you belong or how you fit in with the shamash or the circle. Yeah.
Is it possible to apply the covenants to the parts of the tabernacle? Because in the Holy of Holies, I'm immediately seeing renewed covenants and peace covenants.
Okay.
Can we do that with the rest? Homework for you, Vince.
Not really your homework, it's just testing the theory. Right? If you could possibly be looking at it, and then you went Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, which were guys that very much still with their sin and had to be prepped. Right? Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov would fall then into outer court. If you were going to Sinai, Sinai was probably going to get you a little bit closer here. The problem with that is the labor is actually you're talking about in the New Covenant when it says I'm going to sprinkle you clean. Right? And that sprinkling clean is that also that mikvah, which is also going to overlap. So you're going to have that coming out from there to there. Okay? In the fullness of it and in the pouring of the Ruach HaKodesh as being as your sign, that actually happens in here. So your New Covenant is already touching on 3 of those portions. You see what I'm saying? So we could probably make an illusion that you could probably look at Abraham, the Abrahamic covenant, but again we've had to unpack all of them because where would the Levitical covenant fall in? And if you, again from there you're looking at Pinchas, which is your peace covenant, right? This is going to run through Sadok. But
maybe it's not a timeline thing with the covenants relating to the Mishkan. Maybe it's an importance of the covenant imposed onto the Mishkan.
Yeah, the problem is we've already got the Sinai covenant over here, which is already in the Holy of Holies because that's where he placed it. So, and that's again about the reflection of the Shekinah of what you're supposed to do. Alright, well we can play with this stuff. If you guys have got any other illustrations or anything you want to bring in, right? There's a prophecy, wait, one more piece of homework. On the 8th day is called Hoshana Rabbah. Find me the verse in the Gospels that deals with Hoshana Rabbah. Okay? And what was the remez linking to that specific verse? Okay. Remez linking to Hoshana Rabbah, Yeshua says it himself. Tie it in, this is important, on the 8th day, the time of new creation, or new beginning. Not Hoshiana. Hoshana Rabbah. It is the remez that ties in with Ezekiel. Yes, the remez is to Ezekiel. I'm giving you the clue. Okay.
Okay, you wanted to tie into creation?
No. Well, it's going to be part of the new creation. You'll see it when you see it. You'll see it.
Sorry, but
yeah.
when you're going to do the new customs linked to the feasts, to sort of
we'll have to try and bring that into that. Just remind me we'll also tie it. Okay. Alright, cool. Alright.
Sorry, just refresh my memory. What's Hoshana Rabbah in English?
8th day.
Just 8th day.
It's called a specific thing. I'm giving you a nice big clue. Google Hoshana Rabbah. Nice Jewish Rabbah. Nice Jewish day. It's the 8th day. And you'll find it in the Gospel of John. And if somewhere between chapter 1 and chapter and the last page.
Gospel in 1 John 1 2 John.
John 2 17 John.
Revelation.
Yeah, which is going to lead you to Adasa, which is actually a double for Ruth. Alright, any other questions or thoughts?
Yes, she's got a lot. She's coming to this.
Great time, happy time.